convert all that buzz into success, all those eyeballs into dollars, and win.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
Mitchell Heating and Cooling. We do the job right every time.
Mitchell Heating and Cooling is celebrating 51 years of trusted service. And to celebrate, get a furnace tune-up for just $51. That's peace of mind heating for only $51. Visit MitchellHVAC.com. Mitchell Heating and Cooling. Quality products and services on time from a family you trust. It's hard to stop a train.
The best solutions every time.
It's bow time.
A leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99?
Leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99?
So crispy.
So crispy.
And juicy.
And juicy.
So much flavor.
So much.
Stop it. What are you doing?
What, you expect me to get this delicious deal and not say anything?
You're unbelievable.
You're unbelievable.
With a boldly seasoned leg and thigh, choice of fixin', a biscuit, and legendary iced tea, it's a deal so good it's worth repeating. So eat and repeat while it lasts. It's bow time.
It's bow time. Dine in, drive through, or tap your favorite delivery app and have Bojangles come to you. Satisfy your craving for flavor right now with Bojangles 2-piece dinner. 2 pieces of Bojangles dark meat chicken, your choice of fixin', a biscuit, and iced tea for just $5.99. That's right, just $5.99 for limited time at participating Bojangles. What are you waiting for? When you're hungry, it's always bow time.
Our neighbors in western North Carolina are still reeling from the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene. The North Carolina Association of Broadcasters has partnered with the United Way to help rebuild their lives. During the month of December, please give to United for Western NC at unitedfornc.org. Your donation in partnership with the United Way will directly support unmet needs in these communities. Please support those who have suffered so much by giving to unitedfornc.org today. Furnished by North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Giving your child their first phone is an important and often difficult decision. After all, it is a milestone in your child's development. The Phone Ready Quiz from the American Academy of Pediatrics can help make this decision easier. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz to take a short questionnaire that'll help you decide if you and your child are ready, almost ready, or not yet ready for their first phone. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz today.
Charlie did not die from an overdose. Charlie was poisoned.
No other family should go through this. It's just horrific.
Go to safe.pharmacy. Use the free tool. Learn if the online pharmacy you're using is safe.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
They score! WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on the radio, Instagram, TikTok, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Midday Monday, upper 50s, lower 60s with highs today in the mid to upper 60s. A nice day to get outside, just a little breezy at times. Partly cloudy overnight with lows in the mid 40s and just about as warm New Year's Eve with a stray shower. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the WRAL Severe Weather Center.
Three o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones down 258 points at 42,733.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. I'm Tim Donnelly. Graham Hill producing the show today. I am back. Had a week off for the holidays. I'm excited. I am ready to talk sports, and I wish the local teams would have given me something better to talk about in my return. Of course, we're talking NC State. They lost to ECU in the Go Bowling Military Bowl 26-21. We could pass it along to UNC football. We could pass it along to Canes, to the Carolina Hurricanes, even though they did get the win 300 with Rod on Saturday. Still, there are questions. We could pass it along to a bunch of the basketball teams in the area. Thought I was hopefully going to come back after a week off and have a little bit more optimism. Unfortunately, we have to have real conversations, and to do so, we will be opening up the phone lines in about a half hour for a Monday sound-off, so a reminder to keep this phone number saved in your phone, 919-860-5326. That's 919-860-5326. Keep that locked and loaded because at about 3:30, we'll be opening up the phone lines for a little Monday sound off, letting you react to everything from the weekend. And State fans, I expect a little anger. After watching that bowl game, I expect a little anger. But do you know what's funny about it? You know, I'm going to reference this a few times today because I like to find kind of like tape watching exercises, different ways to get prepared for the show. For a week, I was at my parents' house, kids running around, right? Food, drink, games, all that kind of stuff. And that meant we had games on, right? My family is a sports family. We have all the bowl games on the television, all the NFL games, basketball, like we had them on the television, but you get caught in conversation, right? The kids start doing something cute. You want to jump in the pool, whatever. It was down in Florida. I'm not watching it like I normally do, notepad in front of me. So I came in today, and I caught up on all the games I missed. Rewatched, played them, so I had the pause, the fast forward, the rewind. This is the freshest my eyes have been in a very long time watching these teams, right? It's the, if you think like an artist, if you think you're done, put it away, go work on another project, take your mind off it, come back. If you still think it's done, right? You need those fresh eyes. I watched the NC State ECU bowl game, and I had to click through the billion clips of the fight. We'll talk about it. But I watched the Go Bowling Military Bowl. I actually found a lot of positives for NC State. C.J. Bailey looked good. Hollywood Smothers looked very good, the running back. Justin Jolie, the tight end, when given the opportunity to make plays, made plays. Tamarcus Cooley on defense, nose for the football, looked good. Noah Rogers, when given the opportunity, a highly recruited wide receiver out of the portal, made plays. Offensive line, pretty darn good, right? Opened up the holes for Smothers and protected C.J. Bailey for the most part. I thought Sean Brown on defense had a good day flying around making tackles. Right, so I actually made this list while I was looking at the game, rewatching it, fresh eyes, this morning, and all of those were on the positive side, kind of like a pros and cons, arrows up, arrows down. But the stuff I had on the bad side, the arrows down, the cons list, there was one football thing. I didn't think their pass rush was very good. Right, I did not think their pass rush was very good. That's something you can fix in the portal, you can fix in recruiting, you can fix with scheme. The other three things are terrifying. I have team down because they showed up flat. They weren't playing for each other. I have culture down. That comes from having fights 2 games in a row. That comes from a whole bunch of things you see in body language. And I had offensive play calling down, arrow down. Let's break down some of them. The pass rush, you heard me. That's you might not have the dudes, right? Davin Van not playing. You might not have the guys. Team. Defense made plays. Not on third down. ECU was 12 of 16 on third down. And one of those 3 that they didn't get on third, they went for it on fourth, converted. They were 14 of 16 when it comes to extending drives after being caught on a third down.
And Caden Hauser had 4 of those.
Caden Hauser, I have this one down here as well. To not have any sacks on Caden Hauser is a problem. He's not that mobile. He's, quite frankly, a solid but not spectacular college quarterback. Third downs, getting after the quarterback, that's want-to stuff, right? That's getting yourself hyped. That's finding a way to make a play and get off the field. That happens in every single football game. They didn't have it. Culture. You can't fight 2 games in a row. You can't. And I'm somebody, like, I played sports. I understand the emotion. I can get too competitive. Trust me. Everyone in my family knows I can get too competitive. So when a team fights after a game, right, we had that week where everybody was planting flags and everybody was getting in fights. It was the state UNC fight. It was the Ohio State-Michigan fight. They were happening all over the country. I was very sympathetic. Not saying condoning it, but I get that you can get caught up in those emotions. You love your school. You work hard for it. You defend your turf. If they plant the flag, you want to do something about it. I get it. Can't happen 2 weeks in a row. Because after that happens the first time, the coach has to get together with the team and say, right, it's remember the Titans with Denzel.
Yep.
You got passion? Good. You're going to need it. You got aggression? That's even better. You're going to need it too. But, right, there has to be the but. You can't let your emotions get away with you. Any 5-year-old can throw a hissy fit? I forget the exact quote. Any 6-year-old can throw a hissy fit? You can't let it happen back-to-back games.
Now, I know there's some NC State fans listening to the program right now saying, but Tim, you got to acknowledge that it all started with an East Carolina player stealing the towel from an NC State player, and that was what ensued it. But here's the thing. 6 NC State players ejected, 2 East Carolinas. That's where I see the side of, I'm sorry, it's a bad look on NC State.
And now you have to go back to what the people I disagreed with said after all those fights during rivalry week, which is don't lose the game, right? If you don't want somebody to be a jerk, and let's quite frankly call it what it is, the ECU player grabbing the towel, it's a punk move. It's a loser move, right? You can talk your trash. You can celebrate with your team. You can do all of that. Grabbing someone else's towel, loser move. They don't do that if they're not winning the game. They don't do that if they didn't just embarrass you with a late game comeback. Show fight in the game. Don't show fight after the game. If you have enough energy to get out there and scrap, you didn't put enough energy into the game. Culture down. And then offensive play calling. Why the heck didn't Hollywood Smothers get the ball in the third quarter? 100 times. I mean, exaggerating, but a little bit. Why? The guy had it going. If I'm a play caller, and you'll see this with Kyle Shanahan, might be the best at it. Player has a hot hand. Let's see how long we can ride the streak. Let's design up 30 different ways to get him the ball. If somebody's feeling it like Hollywood Smothers was feeling it, keep giving him the ball. And then finish, right? This comes team, this comes culture, this comes play calling, this comes everything. Comes coaching, finish. You're down 20-7 at the end of the third. Storm back. Great fight. Take the lead 21-20. Double reverse pass to Smothers. Touchdown to take the lead. 9 minutes and 30 seconds left. You pulled out all the tricks. The fake punt worked barely. The double reverse pass worked. You're filling yourself as a coach. Tamarcus Cooley interception, his second of the day, gives you the ball with, 2 minutes and 39 seconds left, ahead 21-20. That should be all she wrote. Tell the fat lady to start warming up her pipe. She's going to be singing soon. But it felt inevitable that ECU would win the game from there. There was the fumble that for whatever reason they decided wasn't a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. There was the momentum was gone. Even in a game where your young quarterback looked, I thought, pretty good, where your young running back looked like a stud, where some of your young, already committed to return weapons did what they were supposed to do. Playmakers on defense, on first and second down, did what they were supposed to do. The rest wasn't there. And you lose to ECU. Is it a rivalry? Is it not? I don't care. It's a group of 5 school. It's a school you're familiar with. It's a school you're going to open up the season with next year. If you're going to play in the bowl game, if you don't want to play, if you don't want it to count, if you want to sit around and say, well, we had some guys that opted out, don't play in the game. If you're going to go up there and play, go up there and play. Go in with a good plan, go with a good execution, go in there with effort. And if not, I got nothing for you. Again, you'll have your chance to sound off if you want to. At about 3:30, we'll open up the phone lines. Keep the phone number locked and loaded, 919-860-5326. NC State wasn't the only team that I rewatched earlier today and got a little mad about. UNC also, for different reasons. Stick around. We'll give you those reasons next.
It's been quite the ride in 2024.
And it's night for the Seminoles. 53 seconds to go. The Blue Devils are about to get their first win over Florida State.
There's the horn, and the Pack's done it. NC State is the 2024 ACC Men's Basketball Champion.
Let's do it all again next year.
Happy New Year!
From 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus only. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text CARE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CARE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CARE to 200-300. That's CARE to 200-300. CARE to 200-300.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Guess what, Graham? By the way, Tim Donnelly here, back after a week off. Graham Hill producing the show. Graham, you can take off the graphic behind me on YouTube that says UNC, and you can fire up the graphic for NC State, and then go ahead and fire up the breaking news. NC State's offensive coordinator, Robert Anae, no longer their offensive coordinator. NC State head coach has announced that Robert Anae, who has served as the offensive coordinator for the past 2 seasons, has been relieved of his duties.
That didn't take long.
I promise you, I did not time that up intentionally. I did not know that that news was coming at about 3:15 when that news was actually posted at 3:02 on GoPack.com, the team website. I did not plan that when I ranted against the play calling for the first 12 minutes of the show in the bowl game. The new offensive coordinator will be Kurt Roper, who's been on the NC State staff as mostly a running backs coach, but also a quarterbacks coach this past year. He was quarterbacks in 2019, running backs coach from 2020 to 2022, and then back to quarterbacks coach this year, 2023. First of all, let's talk Robert Anae no longer being the offensive coordinator of NC State. Whether you like Anae or not, whether you think he's a great coach or not, something needed to happen, right? I talked about this. You can't have a season like NC State just had, where the expectations included being a dark horse college football playoff team, and the finality is scrapping with ECU in a loss in the Go Bowling Military Bowl and finishing below 500 and all that. You can't have that season play out the way it did and not make major changes. Tony Gibson, he left for the Marshall head coaching job from the defensive coordinator spot, and now the head coach, Dave Doran, makes the move at offensive coordinator. That was necessary. That was necessary. You needed change. Regardless of what you thought of the coaches, sometimes it's just time and you need new scenery, you need new voices. So Kurt Roper will take over as offensive coordinator. He will remain coaching the quarterbacks. Do you know what I love about that move? And this is, I'm not acting like it's, rocket science, advanced calculus. C.J. Bailey is probably the biggest bright spot of the NC State season. C.J. Bailey was the true freshman quarterback thrust into the starting lineup when high-priced, highly thought-of transfer Grayson McCall was injured for the year. C.J. Bailey played very well, showed the flashes you want to see. You could argue C.J. Bailey was the best true freshman quarterback in the country. He's already committed to returning to NC State next year. Now, even with an offensive coordinator change, you don't have a change in voices in C.J. Bailey's head, right? Because the quarterback's coach, Kurt Roper, now jumps up to offensive coordinator, will remain the quarterback's coach. C.J. Bailey has a relationship. You know that Roper knows what makes Bailey tick. You know that Roper knows what he is good at. Yet you still get a fresh voice. You still get a fresh play calling identity. And you get someone that Dave Doran trusts. He's been around longer than Robert Anae has been around. That's the good of that hire. And these are all initial reactions. This news just breaking. My initial concerns about the reaction are hiring from within. Is it different enough? Right? If the offense wasn't what you wanted this year and promoting somebody up from within that offense, will it be different enough? And secondly, was this a hire you made simply because you didn't have any options? Right? Because the best coordinators out there are going to have options. They're going to have leverage. They're going to be desired by multiple schools. Multiple Power 5 schools will want to hire the best offensive mind out there. And if they get to weigh their options, right, the best offensive minds out there, they're probably not going to a school, to a coach where they don't feel there's great stability. There were 5 FBS programs in the state of North Carolina with a losing record this year. Dave Doran is the only of those coaches, the only coach of any of those 5 programs that wasn't fired. Right? Another losing season, what happens? Coordinators can read writing on the wall, right? They can read the room in college football and say 2 bad seasons anywhere is tough to survive, regardless of how much everybody loves a guy, regardless if he's the winningest coach in school history, regardless of a decade plus. 2 straight underwhelming years is tough to survive anywhere. So outside coordinators with options probably aren't super excited to sign up and hitch their wagon to that bus. Kurt Roper already being hitched to that bus, right? Their wagon's already riding along. Being promoted up may have been one of their only options. Either way, I don't want to say either way. This has a chance to be what the doctor ordered. It has a chance to be, hey, remember when they shuffled the deck chairs on the Titanic? Right? I on air, you always have to give your opinion, right? And hopefully many of you will give your opinion when we open up the phone lines here in about 10 minutes. You always have to give your opinion. There are certain times where you look at it and you go, it had to happen. I don't know if it's going to help. It had to happen. I don't know if that's the cause. They needed to try something new. New defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. That files into that category. Too early, too late? It's probably not too early. Could be too late. Do you know what everybody in that program should be judged on next year? If CJ Bailey is threatening for all ACC, he showed that kind of potential. And if Kurt Roper was hired in order to keep that stability and keep his development moving in the right direction, CJ Bailey should make a big leap next year, especially with guys like Cam Ward and a few others on their way out.
I was just about to say, I mean, the ACC's wide open next year as far as who's going to be the next powerhouse quarterback with, as you mentioned, Cam Ward no longer in the ACC, then Malik Murphy right down the road who transferred out. So the success of the offensive coordinator position for NC State has to be judged on, is CJ Bailey in the top conversation nationally as one of the best college football quarterbacks in the country?
And in the transfer portal world, is the offense exciting enough to attract talent? Is the offense exciting enough and features Bailey and Smothers and Noah Rogers and these guys enough, and gets the offensive line, who you always need to mention, excited enough that they want to stick around and others want to come play for them? You know, the 3 yards in a cloud of dust offenses aren't around very much anymore, and part of it is because rules have made it easier to be high-flying, and part of it is high school has gone so much more to a 7-on-7 world, so there's better wide receivers and passers available. Part of it is also, if you play a boring, not fun style of offense, people aren't going to want to play for you, and they can leave. I know some of you are out there saying, what if it wins? I hear you. I'm just telling you, 19-year-olds want to have fun. 20-year-olds want to have a good time, and you know, that's something that I don't think the offense for NC State was doing very much this year.
And see, no disrespect to, well, not even this year, but last year too, no disrespect to Robert Nye, but it just felt like when he got hired from Syracuse, we heard that it was going to be a high-flying offense. You know, throw the ball down the field for 20 or more yards on a pass play. But it just felt like we never really saw that. I get he took a bad situation and made it something last year with the whole MJ Morris situation and turned Brennan Armstrong into the savior of the season. But it just felt like the offense never delivered like it was promised when Anai was initially hired.
Here's what I think is going to be metaphorically the cause of death to the Robert Anai era in NC State's offensive history. When Robert Anai took over, and I actually have a history of covering him at previous stops, his reputation, his, the thing that you hire him because was his versatility. He could look at your roster, figure out what every player did right, and build an offense that highlighted those strengths, right? The example I always used, and ironically Brennan Armstrong ended up transferring to NC State, was at UVA as the offensive coordinator. He led an offense by Bryce Perkins, where Bryce Perkins ran for 1,200 yards. He also ran an offense just a couple of years later where Brennan Armstrong broke every single passing record in UVA history with very little rushing contributions from the quarterback spot. Bryce Perkins, a quarterback that ran for 1,200 yards. Because of that, the 2 years that Robert Anai was at NC State, I don't think they ever got an identity. I don't think they ever had something that they hung their hat on. I just listened to former Panthers great Greg Olson. He was on with, I think it was Ryan Russillo on his pod. And Greg Olson said, you want to show me who the best quarterbacks are in the NFL. Show me what their team trusts them with on 3rd and 7. Right? If quarterback is given all the keys on 3rd and 7, I'll show you the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think in college, it's you want to show me the best offensive minds, show me what they do on 3rd and 7. And when Robert and I went into a 3rd and 7 over the 2 years here, I was never like, all right, he's got something cooking. It was either like a wild trick play that may work or something unimaginative. There was nowhere in the middle. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. That could be something new to sound off on. Robert and I out as offensive coordinator of NC State. You can also sound off on UNC, losing to UConn in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. You could sound off on the Canes. You could sound off on the Panthers getting schmalacked by the, division rival Bucks. There's a lot to sound off on if you want to. We're opening up the phone lines now, 919-860-5326, 919-860-5326. Graham is awaiting your calls. More of The Drive coming up next. The Pack Therapy Podcast is in session thanks to First Horizon Bank. Tim Donnelly here, host of The Drive, alongside Wolfpack legend Casey Morsell.
Every episode is your chance to score inside information on the Pack.
We'll set you up for Wolfpack games all season long.
And we break down the ACC competition, what to watch for as we roll towards the tournament madness.
Plus special guests to keep Wolfpack hope alive.
Follow and subscribe to Pack Therapy wherever you discover your favorite podcast or watch on YouTube.
It's bow time.
A leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99?
Leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99?
So crispy. And juicy. So much flavor. Stop it. What are you doing?
What? You expect me to get this delicious deal and not say anything?
You're unbelievable.
You're unbelievable.
With a boldly seasoned leg and thigh, choice of fixin', a biscuit, and legendary iced tea, it's a deal so good it's worth repeating. So eat and repeat while it lasts. It's bow time.
It's bow time. Dine in, drive through, or tap your favorite delivery app and have Bojangles come to you. Satisfy your craving for flavor right now with Bojangles 2-piece dinner. 2 pieces of Bojangles dark meat chicken, your choice of fixin', a biscuit, and iced tea for just $5.99. That's right, just $5.99 for limited time at participating Bojangles. What are you waiting for? When you're hungry, it's always bow time.
Mitchell Heating and Cooling, we do the job right every time.
Mitchell Heating and Cooling is celebrating 51 years of trusted service. And to celebrate, get a furnace tune-up for just $51. That's Peace of Mind Heating for only $51. Visit MitchellHVAC.com. Mitchell Heating and Cooling, quality products and services on time from a family you trust. It's hard to stop a train.
See if you're a winner every night. Watch live lottery drawings on WRAL TV's 11 o'clock news. That's right, Carolina Pick 3, Carolina Pick 4, and Carolina Cash 5 numbers every night on WRAL TV's 11 o'clock news. See if you're a winner before you go off to bed. Get your lottery numbers live every night.
North Carolina Education Lottery.
Only on WRAL TV's 11 o'clock news.
Stop letting high-interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off in days thanks to Loan Pronto's new Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Dennis Cox, my friends at Loan Pronto. Imagine a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan uses AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash out in as little as 1 day. One client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their debt, launched a home improvement project, and is now saving over $1,000 a month. Instant approvals, low fixed rates, fast transfers. Get cash to consolidate all your debt and get a fresh start for the new year. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much you qualify for. Imagine this time next week, you could be credit card debt free. Call 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner, so he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. We have a lot that we need to react to today, a lot that we need to sound off on, including the breaking news of less than a half hour ago, officially put out by NC State, that they've moved on from their offensive coordinator, Robert Anae, and they've promoted from within quarterbacks coach Kurt Roper to the new offensive coordinator spot. By the way, Kurt Roper has been an OC before. Matter of fact, he's been an OC here in the Triangle before. From 2008 to 2013, he was Duke's offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. He's been a co-offensive coordinator for South Carolina from 2016 to 2017. Spent a year as offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Florida. So he's not exactly new to the role. He steps up back into a familiar role. But that means NC State will have new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. Off-season of change continues for them. It is a Monday sound-off, so we have opened up the phone line. Keister Automotive Group hotline, 919-860-5326. That's 919-860-5326 for all of you to sound off on the happenings of the past weekend and beyond. We'll start with Dean and Rocky Mount, first caller on the line. Wants to sound off on both NC State and the Panthers. Dean, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and sound off.
You know, I think I got the wrong week this time because last week Dennis had the airing of grievances.
Okay.
And this week is just a regular sound off. I think I should have switched the two because I got a lot of things that went this week that I'm not really happy about, like the NC State losing to East Carolina on Saturday. And the Panthers lost to the Bucs on Sunday. And the Panthers on Sunday, they couldn't do anything right except throw the ball. They couldn't make kicks. They couldn't defend punts. They couldn't stop the run, stop the pass. They couldn't stop anything. And they couldn't really run the ball either because they didn't have Chuba Hubbard. With NC State, the play calling has been awful. And the defense, up until about the fourth quarter, could not stop a single thing. So I do think the change is needed there. And I was talking with some friends after the ECU game, and we said, well, we'll really see how C.J. Bailey feels about Kurt Roper, depending on if not he's going to have a job. Turns out he's the offensive coordinator, so I definitely say that should tell you something. What did they say? A picture tells 1,000 words?
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm with it. I'm with it on all of that, and I'll respond. But you also want to sound off on the Panthers, so I'll give you the floor once again.
Yeah, the Panthers, we just need to make a lot of changes. I know there was no Josie Jewell, no J.C. Horn, no Chow Smith-Wade, no Chuba Hubbard, no Taylor Moton. But a lot of the problems that we had this past week, they've kind of shown their head a little bit, except not being able to run the ball. That is a new one, but that's mainly because no Chuba Hubbard, no Jonathan Brooks, no Miles Sanders, no Taylor Moton. So a lot of the injuries there on the offensive side explain the no running the ball. But the pass, like Bryce Young last week was one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL. I believe the percentage of pressures was up to like 70%, if I remember correctly, is what I thought.
I have that stat for you. I'll build off of it when you're done here.
And so they just need to clean the house on the defense. Ejiro Evero probably needs to not be the defensive coordinator next year. And we just need to draft a whole set of new players, need to sign some guys. And the problem is we only have like $30-something million of cap space to work with right now. We'll probably create some more, but we don't have a lot of money to make the vast amount of changes we need to make on the defensive and even some on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, Dean, I appreciate it. I kind of in the vein of last week, good airing of grievances there. We appreciate the call. I'll respond to it all, but there's a lot to get to. the stat you referenced, I have it here in front of me. Bryce was pressured on 68.6% of his dropbacks per Next Gen Stats. Not quite 70, but close. That is the highest pressure rate faced by a quarterback in any game this season. That's any quarterback in any game this season. Pretty difficult. Pretty tough to succeed there. As far as the NC State, everything you said, all those complaints, I'm with it. I ranted for 12 minutes to start the show about the things that frustrated me from NC State's bowl game. The one now, like that the news of Robert Anae being relieved of his duties has come down is you have to give Dave Doeren credit that he also recognized that changes were necessary. So he's given it the go, right? Maybe it's he hears the Undertaker on the other side of the stage, but he's given it a go. Rod in Goldsboro is up next on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, which is open for all your sounding off. 919-860-5326. Rod, thanks for calling in. Go ahead and sound off.
Yeah, I'm sounding off on the Robert and I firing.
Okay.
It needed to happen. I mean, it needed to happen because it was like the past two seasons, it's like, he's going to be a thrower, like you just said. I'm like, it's going to be 20 yards downfield. I'm like, when did we ever start out the games on fire? Other than the game this year at Cal or Stanford when we scored 54 points.
Yep. Hey, Rod, I appreciate the call. I'll jump into a point there. You just sparked me on something, so thank you for calling in. Call back in any time. The starting slow nature of it, I don't even think it was that, because it's not like you always picked it up. The issue with me and Robert and Nye's offense has always been you're not doing what the promise was, right? I'm trying to think of a good example. Like you went and bought Flex Seal. Remember those commercials for Flex Seal? You could put it on the bottom of a boat, a screen door, spray it with Flex Seal, and then you could go out and float because it was that airtight. It was as if I bought Flex Seal and I couldn't even patch up like an inner tube to go floating down a river. It's like you just promised things that weren't there. We promised creativity, and instead of genuine creativity in play calling, we got like a double reverse pass once a game. Instead of genuine unpredictability, the defense didn't know what was coming, you would get like a wackadoodle, crazy flea flicker. And I'm going like, that's not true creativity. That's outlandish trickery. Creativity is building small details off of every play, so no matter what the defense does, you have an answer.
I want to go off Rod's comment that he just made. I just remember coming to this season during Robert and I's preseason media availability. Mm-hmm. He was asked, with how many weapons you brought in on offense this year from the transfer portal, where does Casey Concepcion fit in the offensive system? And he said, oh, no, the offense is still going to run through Casey Concepcion. And it was very evident early on in the season that just was not the case as far as the lack of touches that he got. And every time Casey touched the ball, it seemed like it was behind the line of scrimmage rather than 10 or 15 yards down the field like we saw last season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to complain about. And that's why I think it's good to have a little sounding off going on right now. Next up on Monday's Sound Off, Heister Automotive Group hotline, 919-860-5326. I'm just seeing the note on who is on the line, and I'm excited for this one. This is Tim. Graham, this is your pops? This is your dad? Graham's dad from Raleigh is on the phone line, wants to sound off a little bit here. First of all, welcome to the show, Mr. Hill, and go ahead and sound off.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you helping my son and everything you're doing for him. It's a real pleasure and an honor to talk to you. And being a state grad from '84, I've watched a lot of football. I'm happy to see that a change is being made, but I do want to say this is something that has been obvious going back to last year. His lack of creativity, running when he should be throwing the ball, throwing when he should be running. It's just been really, really bad. And my only comment is that a lot of this falls on Doeren, too. If you see something going into the 5th, 6th game of this season where the play calling is completely predictable, I mean, for any fan to see, that's on the head coach to go to his offensive coordinator and say, hey, what are you doing? This is not working. We got to change. And that's where, I mean, I think as some frustrated NC State football fans, I like Coach Doran, and I'm not going to beat him up or anything, but he's got to accept some responsibility for some of these tendencies that just they've not been productive at all. I mean, it's just not been a recipe for winning. So I'm glad to see a change is made, but you played, and the head coach, the CEO of the team, he's got to take charge and make sure his coordinators are doing what they're supposed to do. So that's what's been a little disappointing for me.
Mr. Hill, I see where Graham gets his intelligence from.
I don't know about that.
That was excellently said. So if you don't mind, I'll let you go and respond here. But thank you very much for lending your son to help us out, and thank you very much for calling. That's once again Graham's dad calling in for a little sounding off. You know what? That's something we should have done earlier, and that's why Mr. Hill is who Mr. Papa Hill is, who Mr. Papa Hill is. Dave Doran does have to answer for some of this, right? Dave Doran, and he's right? When you're the CEO, I say this about quarterbacks, the same is true for head coaches. You're either the GOAT or the GOAT. And what I mean by that is you're either the scapegoat or you're the greatest of all time, the GOAT. When things are going poorly, it's you who's attached to it, right? Your name is going to be attached to it. So if you aren't jumping on the headset and saying, hey, man, those first 2 drives, that play calling wasn't good enough. We need to take a shot here on first down. We need to get KC involved. We need to not force the ball to KC. We need CJ to get out and run. Like, if you're not seeing things you don't like and impacting it, maybe not game 1, maybe not game 2, maybe not game 3, but by game 6, 7, 8, that is on the head coach. And Dave Doran does have to answer it, and I'm wondering if this is, actions speak louder than words. Both coordinators being changed. I wonder if that's not Dave Doran saying, listen, I know I got to step up and make some changes here, and that's what I'm going to do.
That's why the post-game comment he made when asked about the play calling just mind boggles me. Mm-hmm. And his response was, well, it's easy to blame the play caller when there's 11 players on the field that have to block, tackle, and what have you. Coach Doran, with all due respect, you're the head coach. You decide who makes the play calls. You decide which players go in there. You decide the personnel. You decide the scheme. Take some accountability.
I'm wondering, and this is just pure wondering, right? This is me in my own brain. I'm wondering if sitting there saying that, because I was planning on, we have the audio lined up. I planned on playing it and giving Dave Doran the business a little bit, right? You can't just excuse the coaches and say, well, players got to catch and tackle too. I wonder if at that moment he didn't know Robert and I was done, and he just didn't want to, kick a dead body, right? He didn't want to sit there and go, well, our play calling was awful, when he already knew in his brain, this guy's gone. So why am I going to insult him and then call him into my office tomorrow and fire him, right? I'm wondering if Dave Doran's like, for all of the pros and cons of Dave Doran, I know a lot of people like him. I know a lot of people want to see change, and there's everybody on both sides. He does seem like a genuinely good dude. Like, he seems like somebody that cares about the people he works with, cares about the program. And that's, obviously an outsider's media perspective who doesn't get the true inside scene. I wonder if he didn't know in that moment, like, I'm talking about a guy who's going to be gone. Let me pull a few punches here and maybe disperse the blame so it's not, piling on. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Thank you to Tim again for that call. Heister Automotive Group hotline is open for your sounding off. 919-860-5326. That's 919-860-5326. We have Lynn in Kinston. Is this another relative of yours?
No, this is not.
All right.
Somebody that I do know, though.
All right. From Kinston. I assumed it might have been part of the Hill clan, Hill family. Lynn, thank you very much for calling in. Go ahead and sound off.
Well, I know you just had Graham's dad on the phone. We want to thank you from Kinston on getting Graham up and Raleigh out of Kinston. Thanks for that.
All right.
Just some numbers to throw out there. East Carolina State, last 20 games that have been played, 11 East Carolina victories, 9 NC State, 5 in Greenville. The rest were in Raleigh or at a neutral site. So this is not a rivalry. Why are we playing them? If you look in the stands that went up to Annapolis, you see why regional games are good. And another, funny thing about numbers, NC State and Carolina last 20 games, 13-7. So, State thinks they're above East Carolina. Carolina thinks they're above State. Nobody's above anybody. We all need to be playing, and we need to act the way we should on the field, too, because that was not good. But just throwing some numbers out there just to let it set in. Thanks for listening to me.
Of course. And thank you to Kinston for letting us have Graham. I know you guys are thanking us a bunch. Here's the take on the rivalry, not rivalry, ECU, NC State, this number, that number on the history. The issue is motivation in college sports have changed. 50, 60, 70 years ago, the best thing you can do is win your conference, right? And then hope that the polls voted you as the national champion or a top 25 team. Now there's legitimate committees, there's selections, there's your resume matters. So the fact that ECU can beat NC State is a compliment to ECU and every bit the reason why NC State does not want to play ECU. A loss to a group of 5 team eliminates you from so many of your goals. It's why App State, I'm sure, has a hard time scheduling. It's why, so many, Coastal Carolina, it's why so many good group of 5 teams have a really hard time scheduling because nobody wants to play them because they can beat them. So, like Doran and whoever makes the schedule for NC State is a bit handcuffed. What I mean by that is you can't come out and say, this is a great rivalry. We love playing them. It's good for the state. Everybody's entertained by it. Our fans love it. And then come out and say, hopefully we don't play them for the next 10 years. So you kind of have to say, it's not a rivalry. The games mean nothing. It's not the same as our matchups against UNC. And that's why we're not trying to play them. It's quite frankly a bad scheduling move to schedule a good group of 5 team if you're a Power 5 conference team. Strategy-wise, achieving goals-wise. For entertainment for your fans, it's good, but it also opens you up to a loss that will crush your goals and dreams.
In this day and age of college football with the expanded playoffs and everything, it's no secret that NC State, UNC, Duke, even East Carolina is no Georgia, Alabama, Texas. Like they're just not touching the surface of the college football playoffs. So when you get these regional matchups, it means something. It means something to the two programs, whether the coaches want to admit it or not. And look, despite what happened with the extracurricular activities, the college football season just ended for NC State and East Carolina. Look at how much we're already looking forward to Game 1, August 30th, right here in Raleigh, when ECU and NC State open the season against each other.
The only thing I'll say to that, and I agree with you, right? NC State, whoever, they're not sniffing the college football playoff. You can't operate like that. You can't, like, if you're NC State, you have to start out your season every year thinking, our goal is to win the conference. Have you done it recently? No. But you have to make that your goal, right? You're a competitor. You can't go into it with, well, we're not going to win the conference. We're not going to go to the college football playoff, so let's schedule entertaining non-conference games accordingly. You have to do everything you can to win your conference. You have to. Absolutely have to. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Let's crank through a few more of these. We have Barry and Selma on the Heister Automotive Group hotline ready to sound off. Barry, thank you for calling in. What do you have for us?
Hey, Tim, I love y'all's show.
Thank you very much.
Back when I was in high school, we used to use East Carolina as a warm-up game. They were usually the first team on our schedule. But about that, I called in 2 years ago and said Anaya should never have been hired. And I never liked it. The offense was never good. I hate we lost Gibson, but boy, I tell you what, I'm glad Anaya's gone. It can't get no worse.
Can't get okay. So how here's the question: how much improvement is there going from an offensive coordinator that obviously you're not excited about to the quarterback's coach that was in all those meetings?
I'm not sure. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
All right. I appreciate the call. Here's the thing we don't know. We don't know if Kurt Roper was sitting in his office after every offensive game plan meeting going, man, I do things a lot different. Man, I don't love that opening play. Man, on third down, we need to be better. We don't know what his internal monologue was. Or if he was even vocalizing that and Robert and I was saying, appreciate the input, here's what we're going to do. That's what we don't know. We don't know how different Kurt Roper thinks than Anai. Another one, is this Mike A or is it Micah?
Micah.
All right, Micah in Cary wants to talk Canes, our first Canes sound-off of the week. Heister Automotive Group hotline is open for all of your call-ins, including this one coming up from Micah, 919-860-5326. Micah, thank you for calling in. The floor is yours.
Hey, Tim. All right. So I want to sound off on the Canes. They're just super soft, and it absolutely makes me so angry. And I'm sitting in my season ticket members, everyone in section 129, shout out over there. But we're all sitting there, see the knee hit on Natchez on whatever night that was, Saturday night. Mm-hmm. Not shocked because that our team does nothing. KK challenged him, which I'm not mad at KK at all. But they stepped up after. But what I'm saying is, if somebody knees your best player, even if they didn't mean to do it, every other team in the NHL, I guarantee you, is jumping the guy that did that. There's no questions asked. Every single player on another team would jump them, and the Canes don't. And I don't know why we're not doing it. If we're afraid we're going to take the instigator penalty or whatever, but it's so soft. And luckily we answered. You can say Orlov answered. Yeah, he did answer a little bit, but that wasn't to Timo Meier who need Natchez. Yeah, I know we got the game misconduct, but before he went in the bench, we could have jumped him. There was an opportunity to beat him up. Even if we got beat up, we have to show some toughness. And, there's people out there. I saw that Elliot Friedman tweeted today that the Canes are looking for something. I don't know if it's anything like that, but Trent Frederick's out there on the Bruins, and that's somebody we need to go get. But that's what I wanted to sound off on because I can't stand it. Brendan Lemieux, if he was there, shout out him. He would have beat the bricks off that guy's face, and I guarantee that. And that's all I'll say.
Micah, thank you for the call. I have to give Micah a shout-out here. There's been a lot of positive shout-outs. Maybe it's the holiday spirit in us, new year, new energy. I have to give Micah a shout-out. Micah called in weeks, if not months ago, and was very upset that Brendan Lemieux was not being given a bigger shot, more of an opportunity to make the big league club for the Canes. And his reasoning wasn't that he thought Brendan Lemieux was a goal scorer or an unbelievable skills guy. His reasoning was, and this is Micah's reasoning, it was that he was tough and he brought sandpaper and he brought edge and it was something that this team desperately needed. And we heard it. We listened to him. We reacted. We moved on. It is wildly obvious that this team needs edge, toughness, and sandpaper. I don't know if Lemieux would have been enough. I don't know if he's skating on the fourth line, if now the Canes are no longer appearing as if they don't have that toughness. But Micah saw the issue early. I have to give him credit. He saw that this is something that could be holding them back, and I think it is something that is holding them back. I think it is absolutely something that is holding back the quite frankly, the ceiling of the Canes. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Thank you to everybody that called in on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. We might open it up again later in the show. We had so much fun with that. 919-860-5326. I say that because, you never know on these holiday shows, right? People may be working, might not. You might be in the car, you might not. So it was good to hear from many of you that we hear from often. Right now, Tim Donnelly here for DraftKings Sportsbook. And it is just a absolutely wonderful time of the year for getting in all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook in the season of giving. And fresh and new, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too. It's quite literally on almost 24/7. I mentioned I was with my family over the holidays. The television was 100% background sporting events, starting at 11 o'clock every day and just rolling. And here's a special gift for all new customers. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TIMD. That's code TIMD for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Have happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-185-543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we have football at 4. Amongst all this sounding off, we haven't given appropriate attention to the clunker that the Panthers put on the field. Stick around.
Move your sports day forward.
I know it's the NFL's world and we're all living in it, but next holiday season, can we just get a little bit of a breather? I don't need 40-7 blowouts on Saturdays. Put that all on NFL Sunday Ticket. I'll watch it on Red Zone over the weekend. Just spare me a little time to catch my breath, will you?
Get set up. Join